All right, everybody. Today we're doing something a little different. My neighbor had an ash tree come down. Now, I've talked about this tree before. It's been towering over my backyard, and I've been worried about it falling down. It's a problem tree. There's also a big cherry tree over to the left of the screen that's leaning way over to the right, and it was hung up in this ash tree, or I would have cut it down sooner already. I would have had this thing done, but it was tangled up in that cherry tree, and I can't cut it down backwards because there's a fence there. So it's just been hanging out in the breeze. I was hoping it would come down in sections, and some branches have been falling off of it, but it died about 2 years ago. And we had a real bad windstorm a few days ago. I mean, it was windy. I thought the glass was going to break in my windows. It was so windy. A bad storm. I thought it was a tornado maybe. But it was whistling through the windows and everything. And next morning, this tree had come down. So I wanted to get over here and get this thing disarmed, so to speak, so it doesn't break and fall on our fence and snap off there. We got kind of a barber chair situation. I don't really know what else to call it. It's got a big tear down the side of it. It's not really a true barber chair, but similar deal. It gets just a big tear, and it's under pressure. And that other limb is coming from an elm tree that it's tangled up in, coming way down from the top of your screen, bent down. There's a lot of pressure under that, and I will say you need to watch those darn things when you have a tree fall on smaller trees and branches, because those things are loaded up, and when you cut them off, they come springing out of there on you. So that one did spring up on me, and I had cut it up enough that it didn't hurt me, didn't get a piece of me, but it did spring up there. So it is worth reminding everybody, when you have those limbs that are bent over when a tree falls, you got to be real careful getting the pressure off of those. So anyways, that's what we're doing. I'm just going to air this footage here in real time, cutting this tree up, make a little wood. Probably got a rick of firewood out of this tree, so enjoy the show. We're going to cut this thing up now. Okay, now hope you enjoyed that cutting there. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. So here's what I got. I think there's probably, like I said, about a rick of wood. There's 30 or 35 rounds of various sizes. So I think about 30 rounds, about that size right there, will fill up a truck. And that's a little over a rick if you pack it in there good. And I got at least 30 of them, so I'm thinking I got about a rick of wood out of that, and it's some pretty good ash. The bark is starting to fall off of it. The bark looks kind of nasty, but when you split that wood open, it's pretty solid on the inside. There's a little bit of spalting down around the stump where it was kind of wet on this piece right here. But the most part, that's some really nice burning firewood. It'll be some good burning wood later this year. So we'll get that split up one day here and get it moving on. Get that sold here later this fall. So thanks for watching. Have a good one. Alright, I got a few B-roll items here to go through today. This is where a walnut tree was dumped out of a dump trailer, and you can see all of those walnuts. They have bloomed into, sprouted into little tiny walnut trees. So it's good to plant trees and all, but you cannot compete with Mother Nature. That's just one tree, 1 year's growth. That's how many seeds it put out there. There's still more down in there that haven't germinated. So that'll be quite a patch of walnut here if I don't disturb that. Now, next we have this robin was building a nest in my backyard. I call that bird Godzilla. But you can see what it's doing to that cedar tree out there. That's a cedar tree, and it has torn strips of that bark off. Look at that. It's been tearing 2-3 foot long strips of bark off and dragging them up into my yard trying to build a nest. And I did see another smaller bird utilizing the same tree. So those birds, they like to use cedar bark to make their nest. And they will just tear that tree up. So I was watching them do that. Here he or she comes with its stuff there, Godzilla, making a nest in my trees. So that was pretty cool. I thought they use cedar bark. And next I want to give an update on my morning glories. I've had a lot of gorgeous flowers coming out, and when it rains they fill up with water like a little teacup there. Real pretty, have little raindrops on them full of water. But it did stop growing vertical on me all of a sudden. The past couple weeks, the terminal bud there, it stopped growing up, and it's just putting out a bunch of flowers. So not sure when it's going to take off again. It did put out a new little shoot. Maybe it'll start taking off again here soon. And another thing I captured was some cherry wood being delivered at the tree service here. I thought that was kind of neat. Thought y'all might like to watch this wood get unloaded. So there's a couple large pieces coming, and I'll just let these play out.